industry, which for decades has been concreting over the coastlines to a rather depressing extent. But what that means is that the coast is by and large pretty well protected. There aren't a lot of kind of areas of open coast, and certainly not near towns. So plenty of these places do have seawalls in place. They have tetrapods, which absorb the tides. And a big earthquake in Japan doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. So there's certainly no excuse for not being prepared.
Absolutely. Richard Lloyd Parry, Asia editor for The Times, thank you so much for talking with us and explaining your experience there as this 8.9 earthquake struck where you are, and you have made the decision to stay safely in that building. Just for a moment, let's listen in to NHK coverage, NHK TV there in Japan, and listen to what they're able to report at this point.
Heads of the various political parties, our Secretary General and our Vice Deputy President are seeking cooperation from other parties. And the other political parties, given this situation, I have not been in direct contact with the other party leaders, but I am sure that we will have their understanding. So what does that mean? That for a while, guidance will be on details about that. Our party officials are with officials to discuss the mandates and what the people have to do. First of all, regarding the tsunamis, escape to the ground or onto the higher levels of and please do not try it yourself. If not, please have information on the situation.
Robust building, and it could be safer to remain inside. So therefore, by furniture collapsing, even inside a strong worry about the safety of the building, please try to evacuate to a safer place nearby. At any rate, would you be asking for support from the overseas? So such information is now being sorted out. Defense forces as well as our police who are trying to clean up.
That was Chief Cabinet Secretary. Earlier on, of course, Prime Minister...
...around it's all to evacuate, so just beware of any furniture in those buildings. And if you feel a need to evacuate, Coroner, who's in Hong Kong, who's going to, as we continue coverage of this 8.9 earthquake that has hit the tsunami warnings that have come a region that takes in 12 different countries.
Yeah, Rosemary, the pictures that is the city on our screens as we speak, and that was where this tsunami, apparently it was a 4-metre wave that crashed on shore, and then a 10-metre wall of water just spread right and died. This is a city of 1 million people. This is in the northeast of the country on Honshu Island, which is obviously the major island in Japan. It's part of the Miyagi province. So this is where the devastation has taken place. And as you can say, this is the aftermath of that massive, massive wave. You are looking at ships. You are looking at trucks. You're looking at cars. This wall of water has just gone through all these buildings. And we don't know how many people are inside. We don't know whether these people were able to get away, whether they're able to take cover. But we've seen those pictures. This wall of water went straight through and has hit Sendai. Let's have a listen.
Japan's meteorological agency says the quake measured magnitude 8.4. The agency has issued a tsunami warning for Japan's Pacific coast. You're seeing a fire that is completely raging out of control. This is live coverage of a oil refinery in Chiba Prefecture, Ichihara area east of Tokyo. Live coverage of an oil refinery, the fire completely going out of control. You can see firefighters trying to water down just surrounding areas. That's probably as far as they can get close to that fire that looks like bigger than some of the surrounding buildings, completely raging out of control. Firefighters obviously not being able to contain that blaze at this time. Live footage of an inferno going pretty much out of control, with firefighters not being able to contain it in Chiba Prefecture, Ichihara area, northeast of Tokyo. The meteorological agency says a 7.3-meter tsunami, one of the largest, hit Fukushima Prefecture in northeastern Japan. In Iwate Prefecture, a tsunami of 4.1 meters struck land. The prefecture of Ibaraki, Miyagi, and Hokkaido in the north were all hit by waves of 4 meters. As this inferno goes out of control in Chiba Prefecture, we are feeling aftershocks from the large earthquake, even the studio as we speak. This is over 2.5 hours after the earthquake. We are still feeling aftershocks in our studios. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center has extended the area where tsunami waves may strike. It now includes Indonesia. Those of you who are watching this program from Indonesia, Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand, and South American Pacific coast, including Mexico, Chile, and Peru. Earlier, the center issued a warning for Japan, Russia, Marcus Islands, and Northern Marianas, Guam, Wake Island, and Taiwan. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center has extended the area where tsunami warnings may strike. Owarai in Ibaraki Prefecture, obviously a tsunami has already struck that area. Some of the cars there plunging into the water. Tsunami affecting Owarai in Ibaraki Prefecture, just about a few hundred kilometers north of Tokyo. For our viewers that are just tuning in, there is a warning out for Indonesia, Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand, and South American Pacific coast, including Mexico, Chile, Peru, Russia, Marcus Island, the Northern Marianas, Guam, Wake Island, and Taiwan. First tsunamis, of course, obviously not necessarily the largest. Some cases, the sea suddenly draws back. Tsunami can hit the coast at a rapid speed, obviously, of what is happening to many cities in northern Japan. I spoke to an expert earlier this week. When a tsunami does hit, do not climb in the cars. Move by foot. Move by foot to higher ground as soon as possible. And this is not just a Japan story anymore. We're talking about tsunamis possibly hitting Indonesia, Hawaii, Australia, New Zealand, and South America Pacific coast, including Mexico, Chile, and Peru. Once again, that inferno going pretty much out of control in Chiba Prefecture, Ichihara City. Firefighters obviously not being able to contain that large blaze in an oil refinery. Flooding is rampant ashore in many cities in northern Japan. Tsunami is moving upstream the rivers, engulfing cities, farmland, homes. Earthquake magnitude of 8.4. Unprecedented in Japan. One of the biggest quakes ever to hit the country was the Hanshin earthquake on January 17th, back in 1995. That had a magnitude of 7.3 and left 6,434 people dead. Another powerful earthquake occurred in the Indian Ocean in December 2004. With a magnitude of 8.9 at the epicenter, the death toll came to 220,000 in 10 countries. And more recently, a devastating earthquake struck New Zealand last month. Japan's meteorological agency says the quake registered an estimated magnitude of 6.3. But today, about 2 hours and 30 minutes ago, a large earthquake, magnitude 8.4, hit northern Japan. It has led to fires, and that fire in an oil refinery completely under control. A large inferno, Chiba Prefecture, Ichihara area. Oil refinery up in blaze. That blaze lighting up the whole area in yellow. You're seeing live footage of an oil refinery in Chiba Prefecture, Ichihara, where firefighters have been unable to contain that blaze. Hundreds of thousands of people in Tokyo have been left stranded after train and subway services were suspended. East Japan Railway Company says it stopped train operations, including Shinkansen bullet trains, although no major damage has been reported so far. The Tokyo Metro suspended all operations. Company officials say it will take time to check the safety of all tunnels before resuming operations. The magnitude 8.4 earthquake that hit northern Japan, leading to secondary disasters, including that inferno blaze where firefighters have yet to be able to contain in Chiba Prefecture in the Ichihara area in Migi, northeastern Japan. Intensity of 7 maximum was recorded. And I say maximum, that's 0, that's the maximum on the Japanese seismic scale of 0 to 7, the same intensity as the Great Hanshin earthquake back in 1995. A local fire department says a welfare facility has collapsed in northeastern prefecture of Fukushima, as 5 people have been confirmed dead and that several people are still missing. Meanwhile, in Ibaraki Prefecture, neighboring Tokyo, a woman reported to have been died after it collapsed. Women reported after collapse on her in Ibaraki Prefecture is advised. We are only getting information after says on unknown number of cities where tsunami waves, coastal areas inland, many buildings and cars have been left submerged. Prefectural police say at least 8 people now have been confirmed dead in 4 prefectures in northern fairly. 8 people have been confirmed and several are missing. We are feeling the after the studio as we speak, and we are feeling the aftershocks of the large earthquake that happened about over 2 hours and 30 minutes. In Iwate prefectures, neighboring Tokyo prefecture, also about a few hundred kilometers north of Tokyo. And it looks like the city has engulfed parts as well from our live camera there. We're back to that. And it looks like more smoke now and explosions from that oil refinery Chiba Prefecture, Ichihara area east of Tokyo. This is, of course, after that 8.4 magnitude earthquake in the north, causing several damage not only to buildings but to this oil refinery in Chiba Prefecture, where firefighters have been having obviously a hard time being able to contain that blaze. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says it has received a message from the U.S. ambassador to Japan, John Roos, saying his country is ready to offer any kind of assistance to the Japanese government to deal with the aftermath of the quake. Japan's police agency is dispatching a 900-strong emergency team to the quake-hit zone. It's also gathering disaster information from the emergency security headquarters. Local police are evacuating seaside areas using helicopters, patrol cars, and traffic signs. Japan's Foreign Minister Takeaki Matsumoto has ordered his officials to start preparing to accept foreign assistance. He also has told them to check on the safety of foreigners living in Japan. Prime Minister Naoto Kan and his cabinet ministers have gathered at the Prime Minister's office, where an emergency task force has been set up to respond to the quake. The task force will gather information on the damage and prepare for possible tsunami. Chief Cabinet Secretary Yukio Edano spoke earlier in front of the press, in front of the media, explaining the situation and on the plans going forward for disaster relief. He's calling on the public yet about the dangers of aftershocks, the aftershocks we are feeling right here in the studio, along with tsunamis that can follow, and to stay vigilant. The quake hit during the midst of the diet session that obviously needed to be stopped to attend to emergency plans. You're now looking at our coverage in Sendai, our live camera in Sendai, northern Japan. In Sendai, northern Japan, Miyagi Prefecture, the governor of Miyagi Prefecture in northern Japan has asked the central government, to send self-defense force units to deal with the situation. Defense Ministry officials say SDF personnel are currently contacting local governments and related agencies to assess the extent of the damage. Prime Minister Naoto Kan held a press conference and called for the cooperation of everyone.
We've just been watching NHK's dramatic footage there. It's live. I think that is Naoto Kan, the Prime Minister, who addressed me. I beg your pardon, a little earlier. Government has said that there will be tremendous in Japan. That is the watch. Now, we must mention that this tsunami warning have been issued in 19 that has huge consequences, far-reaching consequences. We know that countries like Australia, Indonesia, New Zealand, Taiwan, they have all issued tsunami warning. It is something that so closely. Then you are looking pictures from Sendai. Dramatic images came to us a short time ago. This is for ships, trucks.
Struck about 2:40 this afternoon, and we are about 300 from the epicenter in the northeast Sendai area, and feel very easily the movement here only was TV screens. So we knew it was a big one. In some cases, gave people a bit of a heads up that they could take protective or evacuation. Again, overall, northeastern Japan is rather dense. Nonetheless, as you're hearing, we have started from the government early reports, the tsunami, the later cases over and that could be really have more or less just crushed the coast. I think one that is in east of here.
When it will stop, and it's everything is fine. There's nothing land, but we have seen built take away cars on that road, watching this wall of water. The shaking and there's a fire there. This, of course, is Japan's public broadcaster.
Has been confirmed dead after being in cities. Tsunami swept areas in many cars left suburbs after that. The earthquake with a magnitude 8.4, magnitude 95. That had been a magnitude of 7.3 and left 6,000. The magnitude this one was already 8.4. Slow. Japan's communication giant.
Very earthquake, but not magnitude. This is one of the highest, sadly, unlikely rise. So we will continue. Of course, across northeast now are in shock this hour towards shore. And of course, people being given advice, sure can see high down. The watches and warnings are in effect for this entire tsunami watch too. The problem there, no higher. So we are watching now this again, this HK. Debris, across there, instances. So we are dealing with people on the ground there affected by this, and the worry is them trying to rush and together on Tokyo to these kinds of events. As we've said, he decided that he felt safer inside the building, but the advice given by authorities there is if you can possibly get out of those buildings, it might be a better idea. There's furniture, there are going to be aftershocks, and they can be deadly, especially when everything has been unsettled after that 8.9 magnitude quake. Now, Japan's Kyodo News Agency reports there are a number of injuries, and we have spoken to you about these confirmed deaths of 8 at this point. There's been at least one major aftershock since the original 8.9 quake. In actual fact, there have been a few. There was a 6.4, there was a 6.8. We're keeping an eye on that. And as we were talking to our reporter, Kyung La, she was actually, when we were talking to her live, experienced an aftershock there and sort of stabilized herself as she spoke to us. Let's go to our Ivan Cabrera now, who's there at the International Weather Center, keeping an eye on all of this. And of course, you know, I mentioned, Ivan, Kiribati, an atoll where, you know,
each government is going to have to really get the word out and let folks know where they have to go. Head inland and at least 15 meters high, 50 feet, if you can do that. This video is just continuing to see this. It's just unbelievable to me. Some of these structures, it looks like some of the buildings are intact. They were just essentially lifted off their foundation as the tsunami came in. Here are two things that are going on in Japan. We are continuing with an earthquake threat in Japan. We have now had a stronger magnitude quake than what we had in Haiti, and that was just an aftershock of a 7.1. We're going to continue to get these aftershocks. When you get a great earthquake of an 8.9, you're going to get these aftershocks that are going to be into the 6 magnitude, into the 7 magnitude, which in themselves can cause significant damage. That's threat number 1. That will continue for several hours, perhaps days, perhaps weeks as they get a little bit weaker. The second threat that is ongoing is the tsunami threat. If you're wondering, yes, it's hit Japan, but the reason they're still under a tsunami warning and a major tsunami warning is because we are not done. A tsunami is a series of waves that will continue to come in. It is not going to be safe for the folks of Japan until 2 hours after the last tsunami hits, and we are not there yet. So again, an active tsunami threat and an active earthquake threat as far as those aftershocks continue for Japan. That is for Japan, where we've already confirmed a measurement as far as the wave heights of 7.3 meters. That is unbelievable. 24-foot wall of water coming in to Sendai there. Sendai Airport is gone from this 8.9. I want to go through the rest of the essentially warnings. The entire Pacific Rim is now under a tsunami warning or watch. We are now at the most severe level from the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. If you are near a coast, and it is near the Pacific coast, get away from the coast and move inland and move to higher ground. If you're watching us from Hawaii, that includes you, where you have about 2.5 hours before essentially the first tsunami arrives. And all of the islands in Hawaii are going to be impacted. The tsunami, remember, wraps around the islands here, and it will approach in 2.5 hours at 3 a.m. local time. Remember, the Indonesia tsunami hit further to the west, so Hawaii was not hit hard because we had all these land masses that essentially buffeted from them getting hardest hit. But you are not going to be protected if you're watching us from Russia, where the tsunami is about to arrive now. Marcus Islands at 8:53 GMT. If you're watching us from Taiwan, very near there, 9:30 GMT is your arrival. If you're watching us from the Philippines, I know that you are, it is now going to arrive in the Philippines, northern Philippines at 9:55 GMT, further to the south at 10:26 GMT. These times are crucial because we are running out of time the closer you are to that epicenter to get you to higher ground. Marshall Islands at 10:44 GMT. Indonesia, 10:49 GMT. Papua New Guinea, as you see on the map there, arrival at 11:30 GMT. Solomon Islands a few minutes thereafter. Kiribati at 12:28 GMT. Again, as I mentioned, Hawaii, 3 a.m. local time, as we have been hearing the sirens, the tsunami sirens have been ongoing there, warning folks of the impending potential catastrophic tsunami that is going to arrive. Australia, you're in on it as well, 16:20 GMT. Mexico, Rosemary, now we're getting into, again, on the other side of the Pacific here, Mexico. Oregon is now under a tsunami watch into Alaska, New Zealand as well, further to the south, Chile in on it, Ecuador, Colombia, Peru. We're talking about the arrival there literally 24 hours from now, so plenty of time for folks to be warned. But the region that I'm most concerned about, obviously in Japan here, further to the north into Russia, there is Taiwan, arrival in just about an hour, then the Philippines and the southern Philippines, and then we get into Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and into Malaysia as well. We'll continue to track it. Again, the tsunami travels at about 800 kilometers per hour, so it's a pretty simple program that we punch in, and we're able to determine exactly the arrival of the first of many waves to come. We'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, thankfully there is some predictability involved in these tsunamis as they attack the coastlines there. Thanks so much for going through that. I want to go back to Anna Corrin, who of course is in Hong Kong, part of that same region that's being affected here. Anna, back to you.
Thank you, Rosemary. We're now going to bring in actually Carter Evans, who is in Honolulu. He's our correspondent on the ground there. And Carter, I believe that sirens have gone off in Honolulu. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Anna, we've heard the civil defense sirens going off for a little while. I was down in Waikiki when the warning was first issued. And basically, a lot of people don't know what's going on. A lot of tourists are in the area right now, not too familiar with what a civil defense siren means. We did see several fire trucks and police officers staging, getting ready to evacuate people from the low-lying areas. I spoke with some people at some of the hotels along the beach in Waikiki. What they're planning to do right now is to put some of their emergency plans into action. They're planning to evacuate people to higher floors, floor 6 and above. That is the plan right now. They were waiting for the official word from the governor's office before getting in touch with people in their hotel rooms, but that is the plan right now, as far as I understand. Now, I was driving around town to try and get an idea of what's going on and how people are reacting to this, and are people beginning to evacuate. And the first thing you notice, at every single gas station on the island, there is a very long line of cars. People are filling up their tanks. They're going to grocery stores right now. They're preparing. What people are being told is to evacuate inland about a half mile and to get to higher ground. We're expecting the first waves to hit the Hawaiian island chain at 3 a.m. this morning.
Carter, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center has said that it estimates a tsunami could cause wave magnitude of up to 2 meters above